Once upon a time, there lived two brothers in a kingdom, Ukidip and Morkidip. Though they shared the same blood, their temperaments were polar opposites. The elder brother, Ukidip, was fiercely stubborn, audacious, short-tempered, and a rebel by birth. Yet, within him lay a strange creativity and an insatiable curiosity. On the other hand, the younger brother, Morkidip, was deeply timid, impatient, and always dependent on his elder brother due to a lack of self-confidence. Together, the two brothers carved wood to build exquisite boats, and Morkidip would occasionally row them across the river to ferry passengers and earn a meager living. One day, carrying axes and ropes, the two brothers boarded their boat. The deep forest lay across the river, from where they needed to gather good timber for boat making. Just then, the arrogant Princess Epeba arrived at the riverbank. In a regal tone, she commanded the two brothers to take her out on a river cruise. The stubborn and rebellious Ukidip refused up front. "We are heading out to cut wood. We have no time for royal luxuries." Trembling with fear, Morkidip whispered into Ukidip's ear, "Brother, agree to it. The princess will give us a lot of money. With that money, we can expand our business." Dangling the lure of wealth, he somehow managed to persuade his stubborn brother. However, when it was time to return after the cruise, the princess showed her true colors. She smiled disdainfully and said, "Money? What money? The sacred feet of a princess like me have graced your broken boat. That is the ultimate fortune for your generations. What greater reward could there be than this?" Ukidip's face flushed red with humiliation and rage. His volatile, rebellious nature flared up. He could not tolerate such supreme arrogance from the princess. Seizing the sharp axe lying nearby, he slaughtered the princess and her bodyguard in a split second. Morkidip cowered in terror, but bound by his blind dependence on his brother, he stood by Ukidip. The two brothers attempted to flee the kingdom, but they could not escape the king's elite forces. They were captured right at the border. Upon hearing of the brutal murder of his only daughter, the king flew into a violent rage. He decreed a horrific and agonizingly slow death for them. After being imprisoned and tortured for a week, the two brothers were tightly bound to a small boat and cast adrift in the middle of a desolate, turbulent sea. There was nothing around them but the roar of salty water and the scorching sun overhead. Knowing that death was certain, Morkidip wept incessantly. Yet, the stubbornness within Ukidip had not waned. He fumed with rage and resentment toward the king. A day later, with a parched and hungry voice, Morkidip said, "Brother, there is no way for us to survive. We are going to die right here." Gnashing his teeth in blind fury, Ukidip screamed, "No, I will not die. I will avenge myself on this king. I will live for 100 years. This is my stubborn vow." At that exact moment, the surrounding ocean view blurred before Ukidip's eyes. In a sudden jolt, he opened his eyes to find that he was not tied to any boat. Instead, he was lying on a plush, royal bed. It felt as though he had miraculously survived. What followed was an incredible tale of Ukidip's rise, utilizing his fierce stubbornness, creative intellect, and rebellious mindset. He raised a massive army against the king. One day, he dethroned the tyrannical ruler and became the king of the realm himself. He went on to solve every scientific and philosophical curiosity that had been buried deep within his mind. The subjects began to revere him as an invincible emperor. In the blink of an eye, 100 years passed. Ukidip's stubborn desire was fulfilled. However, during this long span of time, he felt a strange loneliness and a profound sense of exhaustion. Weary from a century of warfare, governance, and vengeance, he went to sleep one night, utterly spent. The next morning, when he woke up, he received a devastating shock. There was no royal palace, no plush bed. He discovered that he was still in the middle of that very ocean, tightly bound to the old boat alongside his brother, his 100-year reign, his revenge, his becoming the king. Everything had been a prolonged psychological hallucination, born from a moment of intense stubbornness right before falling into the clutches of death. In reality, only a few days had passed. Beside him, Ukidip was screaming out in a final, desperate struggle. "Brother, don't you die before me. Open your eyes. Brother, there is no time left." Ukidip, whose heart had been fueled only by anger and stubbornness for all these years, felt his entire mountain of arrogance and pride shatter into pieces upon hearing his brother's anguished cry. Looking at his brother's gaunt, pale face, Ukidip burst into tears. Weeping bitterly, he cried out, "Forgive me. This false stubbornness of mine, this arrogant desire, it is nothing before you. You are the master of everything." Looking at each other, the two brothers drew their final breaths. Their lifeless bodies remained on the boat as the crimson sun silently sank below the horizon.